And we are started. Go ahead, Cindy, take it away.
Thank you. Well, thanks everybody for joining us today, and welcome to our Mainframe Performance Management Tech Talk series. This is a new series that we're starting up to introduce you to a lot of new things that we have going on. And I think most of you already know him, but I'm introducing J.D. Bagnell. He's a Senior Director with Product Management, and he's going to be taking you through, talking to you about all the exciting new things we have going on with CA SYSVIEW and intelligent mainframe management overall. If you have any questions, you can enter those in the question area, and we'll address those throughout or at the end of the session. And so with that, I'd like to turn it over to J.D. and away.
All right, thank you, Cindy. Appreciate it. Hi, everybody on the phone. I appreciate everybody taking the time here. Please note we are recording this, so it will be for additional review in the future on the community's site and be available to you. Also, if there's anybody on the call that's been inclusive of some of the conferences we've had, Pittsburgh Technical Conference, or even some of our validation process, you're going to see some information that's going to be repetitive of things you've seen in the past. So please bear with us, and as we move this forward. So I'm setting the stage for the tech series. There should be things that we're talking about, and then as over the next couple of weeks, we'll be diving deeper into pieces of each one of these. We're trying to hold these to 30-minute sessions. We want to give you as much information as possible, but then also not utilize a lot of your time. What I'm going to be talking about really is the next generation of SYSVIEW and the next generation of our management solutions inside of CA. We talk about intelligent mainframe management. Where we are today, what are the things that are driving some of the changes that we're trying to accomplish, but also, what's in the market that we've put there at the end of last year, things that you may not be aware of in the newest release that's GA, and things that we're working on for the next GA release. The things I'm talking about today are things that are available to you as a SYSVIEW customer. If you own SYSVIEW, you have the access to get this as the next generation of SYSVIEW as we move forward. So I'm going to dive into that and kind of just give you a highlight of where we were, where we're going, and then, some of the key elements and the exciting things that we have we're working on and need any assistance with validation. I know some of the people on the call have provided us data and things for us to test with some of our systems, and it's been a very exciting experience. So a lot of things today in the economy that we are in the mainframe, of course, rely around performance. Maintaining the mainframe and the system stability, the system uptime is a key piece to really managing the business as a whole. We know that 70% of almost all the corporate data is on the mainframe. Access to that data is essential for whatever the end user may need it for, and it is really causing the capabilities of always wanting more with less. You guys, I'm sure, on a daily basis are required to do more with less, and how do we do that? And that's the type of thing that we're trying to work through to make our systems from that toolkit and take you to an expert system that provides you information in a timely manner and allows you to make a quick decision. So there's things that we're going to be focusing on around that. That's the expert system, the end game. But, it's really starting with understanding differences in the system, not just setting a threshold on something and then learning from that, but really understanding whether that threshold breach every week on Thursday at 5 o'clock is really something that is a normal part of the work process and we disregard it, and really trying to understand the trends and things that are associated to the workloads that are being processed to ensure that we're warning as soon as possible of an issue, but also not warning you when something is a repetitive or repeatable item. And, really the whole basis of that is going back up to the apps. There are applications out there that we're dynamically growing the workload that we see on the mainframe. Internet of Things, your mobile device, any of those have starburst, the activity that's occurring on the mainframe due to a single transaction request that is someone on a mobile device instead of a bank teller sitting at a green screen dramatically increases the request and the number of transactions that are initiated on the mainframe. For every mobile transaction, I think we say there's an average of 15 transactions that occur on the mainframe. very fast growth, very important things that we need to manage as we move forward. So one of the things that we're looking at, and we'll talk about where we are today, and maintaining the things on the left, which are really toolkits, and really allowing subject matter experts to move the mainframe forward and manage those things. But it is somewhat proactive, but a lot of times reactive in the way the tools are used. So we want to be able to take that to the next step where we're way more proactive, letting the system and the data and the interaction with the customer understand and learn and allow us to know earlier in the process when things are starting to look abnormal and really starting to progress from that to, from a toolkit to that specific type of user experience. So as we start that, we'll start with talking about product, the SYSVIEW product in general. You know, a lot of things that we really focus on with the personas is really around individual personas, the system programmer, the application developer uses SYSVIEW, really looking at, you know, the performance people, the things that we continually try to focus on, which is really that integrated management and continuous availability, but really just making sure that our systems are running in the most efficient capability and time that they can. That's a key ingredient of a lot of the users' SYSVIEW. And so a lot of the capabilities you guys are very familiar with, that, you know, alerting, those things are key pieces of the product. We continue to look at some of our goals we want to do with the products. We continue to want to invest in the currency of our solutions. Your companies have made significant investments in the IBM hardware as well as the software to run that. It's an essential part of their business, though, you know, I know that other or CIOs and those continue to complain about that one line item cost that says mainframe. What they don't see is that the more work that we get on the mainframe, the less costly it is to actually use that. But we need to make sure our products are supporting the environment that you've invested in. And, you know, specifically whether it's a subsystems, whether it's the operating system or the hardware itself, ensuring that we really are focusing on that. And the other things we want to do is start to bring some modernization to the product set. You know, things that are tools that are more user-friendly today, engage new resources or people that you may have in the environment that can then become productive much quicker. And then we also have product architecture goals. We want to be able to get things into your facility up and installed and running much faster, so that it's not taking away precious time of a person supporting that, but also is getting new features into your hands quickly and making you productive with a new environment much quickly. Open APIs, something we're looking at, the capability to actually get into a REST interface, web API type environment that allows you to extract that data and take it where you need to do other actions within your organization. And then also just look at ways that we can become more independent of upgrading our solutions based on a solution, based on maybe a subsystem update that really talks about giving us the capability just to update the CICS module instead of updating the ZOS, the CICS, the IMS, and everything simultaneously. So just giving us more flexibility and giving you flexibility as well. So SYSVIEW 14 came at the end of last year. There's a lot of things that are listed here that we delivered, feedback from our customers, specific around navigation, things around tracing, how to get data. To that, we wanted to put some additional capabilities out on the environment that allows you to get people productive a lot quicker. And so there was a lot of things that were added to specifically address that. And I'll go into each one very quickly here. So product navigation in 14.1. So this was released in October of last year, aligned with the ZOS operating system update. But there were some really key things that we started to feel and were a starting point for us from the navigation of the product. You know, 3270 navigation is very familiar to a lot of people on the call. Once you learn the product and the ability to move around with the commands and different things, it makes it very simple. But for people onboarding to the system that may have never used the 3270 interface or maybe coming from a different product, it was sometimes difficult for them to become productive very quickly. So we tried to take that into account and really add some things into the interface that helped alleviate some of that. It's not the utopia of answering all the questions, but it is a step in the right direction, and we've gotten some very positive feedback on it. You know, specifically line command assist. Line command assist gives us the capability on a specific line to actually have a character enter key that then gives me the available line commands that are either been customized and built by my organization or are standard in the system with some type of descriptive direction. It gives them the ability then to make that, select one of those commands and initiate that action at point in time. So you don't have to remember all of the commands and different things. You now can use a specific key to actually pull up some information that allows you to make a decision. You know, data column sorts right inside of the displays gives you the ability to click on the data again and sort instead of typing in the sort command, so we can sort descending, sort ascending. And then, you know, contextual sense of a column variable. For some reason you don't know the definition of a column variable, you now can click on that column variable and go contextually directly into the help file to actually give you a definition of what that variable is. Just some quick navigation capabilities there. So, you know, a lot of that was done specifically for onboarding, but was also just some capabilities we felt, and getting feedback from our customers, were key to help make it a little bit easier to move around. Documentation, some of you guys are aware of that. All the documentation now is in our wiki, which gives you the capability to do searches on it much quicker. We do have the capability now to actually export PDFs on certain sections of that, which we know was a limitation over the last couple months. That was just recently added. Some people still like that hard copy, like that PDF copy. But all the documentation is on our wiki. That includes how-tos, topics, parm lives, any of those type of things are there as well. There was a lot of things that were product-specific that were maintained on the 3270. We've moved those out and are searchable as well on the wiki. And all of that searchable by Google. So if you have someone that asks a question, you can do a search in the documentation, copy the URL, and send it off to someone and say, hey, take a look at this. This should answer your question. And it really just allows us to get the information out there, allow you to do much better searching and interaction with the information. One of the other things we delivered was the CICS Exec trace interface. Essentially, we had gotten feedback of, you know, how do I use my performance management solution in a broader aspect than just a systems engineer. How do I provide data to my people who are supporting applications on my environment that don't have the background of building the legacy system, but are responsible for maintaining and supporting and moving that legacy system forward? So really the request was to understand that interaction of an application and all the elements it may touch, and understand how it touches them and specifically how those pieces are interdependent on each other. And so we introduced this CICS Exec interface trace that allows the user to actually request that information at whatever granular level they would like. They can do it at a summary level, or they can do it at a very detailed level, and see it across regions and all systems to understand and provide a vision to those people supporting those applications of what really is occurring in the environment at a specific point in time. These are stored. You can go back and look at the results later, but they are kept in a list and allow you to initiate those things to be able to provide that type of information. So those were the key high-level pieces. I just kind of highlighted the key elements there. There's things we did with long streams to provide access faster. We did training videos that we continue to build or up on the wiki site as well as on YouTube, which gives you quick 5-minute snippets on how to do certain things. We add to them as we get new use cases, things that may be a recurring question coming into support or questions that come into development, and we try to continue to build on those as we can. So what's next? The next is really taking our performance management to that next level. Technology is there. We need to be able to make our systems more intelligent. And why do we need to make them more intelligent? Is to be able to support the ever-changing environments that are there, but also allowing you to do more with less and allow people to be able to engage in the mainframe as just another environment of their overall IT architecture. And so we're really looking at things and starting on the left-hand side of really taking us from those expert tools, the things on the 3270 that we do on a daily basis that are not going away, but how do we actually take that and progress it forward? And our first step in that will be around anomaly detection. Really, what are things and how is the data, what is the data telling me? And letting the system revert back, and not revert back, but bring back to you, what has that data been doing in the past, and is this really a problem, or is it something that's just a recurring theme? And then really start to take that to the next level, where we start to see how we manage, a business service, an application, all of the interdependencies that touch that. How do we present that from a graphical representation and allow a user to mine data in detail? And then really getting to that expert system, prescribing recommendations for remediation, taking those recommendations and potentially based on feedback from the subject matter expert or the person interacting with the system, and making automation. So starting to automate more and more things without having someone sit down and write a scripted code by hand. We can actually learn from the system, learn from the user interaction, and then provide the capability to turn those things into automated scripts. Sorry, I'm going to take a drink real quick, guys. Apologize. So we'll be progressing through this kind of model as we move the product forward. A lot of this is based on what we've been coming back from our customers, monitoring, short problem mediation. Those are key things. You guys are in firefight mode a lot of times. There's things that occur that shouldn't probably be repetitive things. We have people coming back and telling us, yeah, this alert triggers every week at 5 o'clock. I just ignore it. Well, I mean, that's a false positive then. How can we actually make it easier so you're not getting those type of warnings and you're actually getting things that you should be paying attention to? And really looking down through the process kind of matches the graph you saw before, where we start to do some of that problem avoidance, but all the way then up to prescriptive and expert systems, where we're telling you and recommending things that you should be actually focused on. We're starting this with the performance management piece. Expanding the value of SysView, I talked about that. We are in validation on some of these new things that I'm about to show you, specifically with the web UI as well as the analytics capabilities. We do have some of the data from some of you. We are doing some things with our database management team as well, but the focus here is really, how do we avoid problems and make decisions quicker, sooner in the process. The whole basis of that really is around a perspective of how data is presented to us. And the first aspects are really going to be the center and to the right, is really in the middle, understanding things in history of when a change occurred that affected some type of degradation of the system. And then on the right, using data to help build that information and then being able to go back in history and see when certain things were occurring and looking at elements that may be occurring at the same time that are affecting each other and interdependent on each other. And then to the left is really then starting to get into that topology mapping that gives me a visual representation of my infrastructure, my application. It just gives me a visual mining capability of data very quickly that allows me to pinpoint issues much quicker and see how that is affecting the entire tree map of whether it's an application or the mainframe itself. So the things that we're actually working on on the left, the things that we have in validation and POC, which if you're not part of the validation process and you're interested in doing that, please join us at validate.ca.com on SysView. We got a lot of good things. We have some hosted environments you can be playing around with, some different things around the analytics as well as the web interface. So please join us. We're looking for continuous engagement there. But we are looking at that modernization and anomaly detection. Those are the first things we're focusing on. We're rolling out validation, like I said. We'll be going to some product GA timeframe around 14.2 in the October to November timeframe. And then moving up the chain, as I said before, starting to look at how to manage that entire environment and understanding the interdependencies, and then really starting to get prescriptive. How do we make things automated? How do we prescribe back to you exactly things and steps you've taken in the past? We're looking at this across the team. Collaboration is a key. You guys work with people on the organization, whether it might be a performance person or a level 1 person, is really understanding that team's problems as a whole and helping to collaborate amongst the people in that team, but also allow the person to go to the level of detail that's required to actually remediate any issues. And potentially, as we get into prescription mode, is hopefully moving a lot of that stuff further upstream, the things that are repetitive, things that I should not have to be focusing on in a repetitive fashion, and hopefully making that thing more automated so people upstream can actually make decisions and move forward. So some of the things we're working on from a use case is really around modern tools. Problem avoidance. We want to be able to see multiple views of data. I want to see it in a web browser. I want to be able to collaborate and access data pretty quickly. That's being introduced with our web interface. Hello? Was there a question?
Nope, go ahead.
All right, sorry. That was being introduced with our Mainframe Team Center management console. Allows you to create dashboards on demand, allows you to do actions, presents data in a graphical representation, but also presents data in a column and row format, very familiar to allow familiarity with some of the subject matter experts who are used to looking at data like that in a green screen type environment. You can interact with that data, you can submit actions, but it really allows that next easeability of use for people that aren't used to 3270, but also just gives you some capabilities to look at things in a very quick and easy fashion, and allows you to create your own dashboards, data that you're used to looking at on a regular basis, looking at it in a graphical representation, and really seeing that. That ties in then to the next one is really around anomaly detection. They're diving deeper from that piece of information and really looking at the data and seeing how it's trending. Not necessarily looking at a specific threshold was breached, but looking at a specific metric that is telling me there's a problem and seeing how that's fared over time, whether it's over the last 24, the last 7 days, the last month, the last year, and really understanding what that flow is on a specific point in time so we can actually give you warnings sooner, get rid of false positives, things that reoccur on a regular basis, and really allow you that collaboration and the access to the data. That's done with our Mainframe Team Center historical analysis. It allows me to generate alerts dynamically. Doesn't require me to set policy on a threshold, but it allows me to take that historical information, put it in a repository, let the machine understand and continuously iterate on the data to actually provide that information back to me so I can actually look and see where things fall outside of a specific range. We'll be going into this in our next Tech Talk next week in an anomaly detection and really talk about analytics and how we see that progressing. Beyond that, then, is the next step. So the first two use cases we're talking about are things that we have in the POC environment now and will be for GA in the November timeframe. The next step of that is really taking those monitoring tools to that next level and allowing me to see perspectives of the environment that I want to see myself. Things that I'm not able to look at in a green screen environment very easily, but really present something in a presentation mode that allows me to see interdependencies, allows me to actually quickly identify root cause problems, allowing the system to provide feedback to a specific object that may be in the environment of things that it may be affecting SLAs, and really looking at that topology that is defined dynamically by us understanding how transactions are flowing through the system. And we're doing that really with, you know, a dynamic topology you kind of see in the bottom half of the screen there, which is graphically presenting a map of how things are flowing through the system. And on those objects that are a part of that is identifying where my alerts are occurring and also where my analysis is telling me things are starting to trend out of norm. So it quickly allows me to go down from a dashboard type of environment deeper into that flow of information and really start to look where the offending object is and where that offending object was introduced into the environment. So if it was an application and there was a change and we went to 2 new objects being added to the application and then we saw a degradation, we can actually start to pinpoint when that happened, what was introduced, and really start to look at that and remediating a lot faster so that we can look back and talk about how we can do it better the next time. Assisted triage really takes that to the next level. As we remediate issues, is letting the system learn from the data, but also from the user. So as the user interacts with the system, we need to be able to capture what that user has been doing. So the next time that similar event occurs, I have knowledge of what we did the last time to actually address that issue. Then we can actually be that, provide that knowledge and that knowledge share interacting with the system so that as a subject matter expert is working, they're not necessarily focused on onboarding or working with newer employees, but they're instilling their intelligence into the system that's making their job easier because the system's coming back and said, hey, this is what you did last time, and really giving a fast starting point for that subject matter expert, but also providing that knowledge to someone that has less experience so they can actually be productive in the environment much quicker. And we'll do that with prescriptive type of environments, really taking that, the toolkit environment to the analytics piece where I'm actually providing that data and actually prescribing actions of what I've done in the past and potentially then saying, hey, we've done this 10 times in a row, let's make that automation. Click it, and then the automation is created in the background, so when that event occurs, the system will go off and take care of itself. This really reduces some of the constraints on the time of the SMEs, really helps us to reduce the mean time to repair, and it really does that intelligent mainframe start to come in where we do more with less. The last piece of that really then is a flexible deployment. How do we take advantage of things that are out there that are cheaper than the mainframe's general processor? We're looking at several different things. We've had customers come back and say, hey, you know, we have this analytics engine. I'd prefer that you run it off the GP. Can you run it on Linux on Z? Can you run it on an x86 Linux environment? And those are the places that we're starting, and we're willing to listen to anybody on the phone. We can sit down with you guys separately and just you can then take a look at the data and the things we're doing and give us your feedback specifically on preferred environment. You know, a lot of customers come back, or some of the larger customers come back and says, you know, I have a mainframe for a reason. I'd like for it to run on that local machine, on the DOS itself. So we're evaluating that. The important part is the flexibility in our environment is being built so that we can actually put this in a container and potentially use any operating system that we deem fit, Linux and ZOS, of course, being the top 2 for anybody on this call. But the basis is really being able to bring information, whether it's from performance, whether it's from database, whether it's from storage, and be able to represent that data and then start to correlate information and understand the interdependencies all the way down to the hardware and really be able then to interact with the system quickly, hopefully in an automated fashion that then brings us to that intelligent system. So I did it in 30 minutes, which is what was requested. Do we have any questions? First of all, I do have one question online. You mentioned the wiki a couple times. Can you provide a link for that? That is on our support zone, so if you can get into the CA support for SYSVIEW and go to documentation, that'll take you right to the link, and then that includes all of the documentation for SYSVIEW. All of our products are already supporting the wiki, and it just makes it much easier for people to actually get around and access data. All right, so other questions?
No, I don't see any other questions, JD. Thank you very much. Guys, if you have any questions, please use either the chat box or the Q&A. And if we don't have any other questions, we'll let everyone get on with their day. So let's give them another minute or so.
All right. Yeah, and please, if you think of something after we leave this tech talk, please reach out to me. Many of you have my email. If not, you can get it through. You can get to me through the communities as well. There may be questions that arise. This is, I think, a special time. We really are taking our products to that next level, really helping to transform the products, but hopefully help you guys as your business transforms into this digital transformation and just having the flexibility and the capability to react in the appropriate amount of time that is necessary to maintain your SLAs. As we enter the mobile environment, we use phones, the expectation of delivery becomes much quicker as a requirement. And thus, we need to be able to allow you to support that type of change and support issues and ensure that your systems are running efficiently to make sure that you're getting the most return on the investment that your company's made. So I don't see any additional questions. I thank everybody for their time. Like I said, this will be recorded and will be put out in the communities by Len at a later time. We will follow up with some more deep dive into some of the anomaly detection and things next week. So we will have another 30-minute session to do that on Wednesday of the 22nd.
Okay.
All right, guys. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. Take care. Have a nice afternoon or evening.